Dang, homie. In high school, you was the man, homie. What the heck happened to you? Joel Embiid used to be one of the top players in fantasy basketball, but a recent string of injuries has led to him becoming the poster boy for do not draft this player. In this episode, we're going to run down the top 10 busts that you need to pay attention to for fantasy basketball. We believe every NBA fan should play fantasy basketball. So I'll start by saying there might be people out there saying you should draft Joel Embiid because it's a calculated risk. You're probably going to have to spend fifth round value for him, maybe fourth round value, and then you might get a first round player. But one thing in fantasy basketball that has led to my personal success and also helping tons of people. Last year, we had 57 people win championships in our community is playing it safe. Like you want to take risks when it's time to take risks. But with Joel Embiid, it's just not something I am willing to do. All signs indicate that his season is going to be hot dog water with the brat worst residue. Dumpster juice village. But the data also tells a story. Joel Embiid in the last few years has been phenomenal, but he's slowly but surely declining. One could argue that his decision to play in the Olympics has something to do with it. Maybe he should have been getting some treatment during the offseason to get his knees right, but he went out there to try to win a gold medal with the United States of America. Some people say it's karma because he could have played for his nation of Cameroon, but he decided to play with the U.S. and in turn ended up running his knees to the ground. Let's take a look at what Joel has been doing over the last few years. So in 2020, 2021, he averaged 28.5 points per game, 10.5 rebounds. Then he exploded in 21-22 with 30.6 points per game. Kept increasing, 33.1 in 22-23. And then in 23-24, he averaged 34.7 points per game, 11 rebounds, 5.6 assists. He was going all the way off. Now, last year, field goal percentage, 44%. Points per game, 23.8 points per game, 8.2 rebounds per game. Listen, I'm going to keep it 100% with y'all. And listen, I love Joel Embiid. I want to see him win. But the fact of the matter is, Joel Embiid is not going to be the player he was when he was the MVP. And even if he does manage to play like 50 games, 60 games, do you want to be in that situation where you're worrying about, is he going to play back-to-backs? You know, are they going to do a load management? It's just a headache that I would strongly recommend you stay away from. So for me, even if he falls in drafts down to that fourth, fifth round level, I'm willing to grab someone else that I know will at least be healthy. So I am out. I am fading Joel Embiid. I know that many will disagree with the next player that I'm going to put on this do not draft list. From the New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson. I love Jalen Brunson. I love his story. I love how hard-nosed he is. I love that he plays with a chip on his shoulder. I love that he has championship experience as a college player. There's just so many reasons to love him. However, there is a new sheriff in town in terms of the head coach for the New York Knicks. Mike Brown is now the head coach. There is no more Tom Thibodeau. And Tom Thibodeau, as you know, Tibbs will run a player to the freaking ground. He will play you as many minutes that you can play. Man, he'll play you more minutes than you can play till the cartilage in your kneecaps are rubbing together. Now, Jalen Brunson took advantage of that. Over the last few years, we've seen an immense ascension, for this player. Recently in 23-24, he averaged 28.7 points per game. Let that sink in. Then in 24-25, he averaged 26 points per game, a slight decrease because Carl Anthony came to town. You see what I did there? He also averaged 7.3 assists per game. Now, I imagine that we're going to see a decrease in his total production because, most importantly, his minutes will likely go down. Mike Brown is thinking about the full spectrum of the season. He's not just thinking about game by game. He's thinking about, will these guys be healthy in the playoffs so they can actually compete for a championship? So for that reason, I am out on Jalen Brunson. The next player on my do not draft list, again, will not be a popular opinion. I argue that it will be radical to many, but I have to stay true to who I am as an analyst. From the Dallas Mavericks, Cooper Flagg. You can even see here, your man don't even have a picture on #basketball. They did him dirty, right? But listen, I know what you're saying. Robin, you're crazy. Like, I'm taking Cooper Flagg. I would add a little side note for this one. If the value is right, I would be open to drafting Cooper Flagg. The reason I'm putting him on this list is because his ADP continues to rise. It continues to rise on Yahoo. It continues to rise on ESPN. It continues to rise on Fantrax. So for that reason, I'm not taking Cooper Flagg in the third round. I'm seeing him go at the top of the third round. I've even seen him go at the back end of the second round. Now, the reason why is not because I don't think Cooper Flagg is a great talent for the NBA. It's just that it hasn't been proven yet. Summer League ain't the NBA, right? So I think that although there is tons of potential, there's tons of reports that they're going to run the offense through him, that he's going to be a primary ball handler and distributor. All signs point to you getting some fantasy basketball value from Cooper Flagg. I just don't feel like we need to pay premium fantasy basketball budget for a player like Cooper Flagg. He is an unproven rookie. Let me say that again. He is an unproven rookie. And so if you want to disagree with me on this, I'm totally fine with that. I would love to hear your take in the comments. The next player on my do not draft list is Jaylen Brown. The reason I'm out on Jaylen Brown is not because I think he's going to have a bad year. I think he's actually going to have a great statistical performance. What I do fear is that the Boston Celtics are not trying to compete for a championship this year. They're going to be very careful with him, and I can see him resting some back-to-backs. And down the stretch of the season, when you need him most for your fantasy basketball playoffs, I think that staff will likely rest him a bunch of games down the stretch. So although I think you're going to get some great value for him in the actual fantasy basketball season when he plays, I fear that when you need him most, he just won't be available. The next player I am hitting with the high top fade like Kid and Play is Jimmy $100 cup of coffee Butler. Now check it out. Jimmy is one of my favorite players. Hard nose, love the way he plays, love how he shows up in the playoffs. But when it comes to fantasy, he's just too inconsistent for me. Over the last few years, we've seen a decline in Jimmy's performance. In 22-23, he averaged 22.9 points per game. Then we saw a decrease down to 20.8 points per game in 23-24. Now in 2024-25, he averaged 17.5 points a game. Now I get it. You'll get Jimmy a lot later than you've had to draft him in the past, right? You'll get a little bit of value, but even the inconsistency of seeing what he will do, him having to take backseat to Steph a lot of the times, I'm just out on Jimmy Butler. I don't want any parts of it. The next player is an amazing podcaster. I love what he does on the air, and I think he's going to have an amazing career after basketball. But for fantasy, I am out on this player. From the Philadelphia 76ers, Paul George. Now, Paul George, I think many would agree that they're fading Paul George. We see his ADP dropping and dropping and dropping. I think there is a point where folks will consider drafting him. Me personally, I just don't need the headache. Check out his recent stats. In 2021-22, he averaged 24.3 points per game. In 22-23, 23.8 points per game, a decrease. Then another decrease. In 2023-2024, 22.6. And then this one is the alarm clock. This is the freaking cliff. In 2024-2025, he averaged 16.2 points per game. Let that sink in. I think it's fair to say that it is not within the range of outcomes that Paul George will play a full season. I don't even think he's going to play 60 games, maybe not even 50, but even if he plays 50, is it worth it? The next player I am fading is Cam Thomas from the Brooklyn Nets. I believe that the new players that they're bringing in, especially my man Igor Dimon, there's a bunch of backcourt sensations that they're bringing in. I think they're going to be testing them out, and they don't have anything to play for. Cam Thomas just recently signed a short contract. I believe it was a 1-year contract. I don't think they're invested in him long-term. He might get some run so they could increase his trade value to move him out. I just don't want to deal with any question marks on my roster. So for that reason, I am out on Cam Thomas. The next player on my do not draft list is another radical choice. I think people are going to disagree with this, but I don't give a shih tzu puppy. From the Portland Trailblazers, Donovan Clingan. I know a lot of folks are thinking because DeAndre Ayton is out of town wearing a Lakers uniform that Donovan Clingan is going to have a clear runway to fantasy basketball value. I believe that over the course of the season, we're going to see your man, Yang Hansen, creep in to get some of those minutes, creep in to get some of those accolades, and eventually creep in to become the starter in Portland. I do believe it is within the range of outcomes. I don't know how fast it will happen, but there are people who are saying that Yang Hansen is the next coming of the Joker. Listen, I know it's radical. I know a lot of people will disagree with it, but I believe grabbing Yang Hansen with your last pick or second to last pick is way better than grabbing Clingan earlier than that. So for that reason, I am out on Donovan Clingan. The next player on my do not draft list is Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving is going way too early in drafts. I saw him go in round 8 the other day. Listen, guys, if you can get him maybe in round 11, maybe back into the 10th round in a 12-team league, I'd be open to it. But even that, you're drafting a guy that is injured. He is supposed to come back sometime around All-Star game, but when he comes back, there's no telling what shape the Mavericks will be in. There's no telling if they'll be contending for a playoff spot. And honestly, I don't know if they're going to ramp him up fast. So I don't see the benefit of stashing him for the whole year and paying 8th round, 9th round value. So for that reason, I'm out on Kyrie Irving. And Kyrie's teammate, Klay Thompson, is officially cooked. Like, do not mess with Klay Thompson. I know he has some name value. There's some notoriety because of his brand, and he's dating Megan Thee Stallion. All of these things that have him in the news. I'm telling you, for fantasy basketball, stay away. Unless you're in a category league and you just want to have some 3-pointers at the end of your draft, maybe consider it. For points leagues, stay away from this dude. It will not benefit your squad. Now that you know who to stay away from in your drafts, check out this episode so you can find all of the sleepers that you must draft.